Hey everyone, and welcome back to another Etheria restart video. So in today's video, guys, we're going to be going over progression heroes. The reason why I wanted to make this video is there are tons of tier lists out there. And I know tier lists are fun. I agree. I love watching tier list videos. They're entertaining. However, they can be misleading. A lot of times, if a character is in a C tier on some people's list or B tier, people assume that they're not good. And tier lists are meant to be that person's opinion, and it's based on their knowledge, and it's usually encompassing the entire aspect of the game. The reason why I have not made a tier list of my own is because the game is just like so early on. I don't think people truly understand how good characters are or anything like that at this point, but making them for entertainment value is perfectly fine. Like, I don't have an issue with people doing that. But I wanted to make my own video talking about progression because some of these heroes, even if they're not overall the best hero in the game or even good late game, I still think they're fantastic to progress through the game to eventually get you to late game. And if they got you there and you don't use them anymore, they did their job. The nice thing is a lot of these heroes don't require a whole lot of investment either, meaning lattices, right? The lattices, which tons of content creators, myself included, have talked about these items right here, these perfect lattices and evolution lattices for your SRs. These are the rarest item in the game, and you need to really be careful with who you use them on. But I'm going to have a separate video on who best to use those on. But the characters that I'm mentioning in this video today, they don't need them to be effective, which is the point. Because they're just getting you to a point where you don't need them anymore. You didn't invest a whole lot, and now you're done with them, and they did their job. They were the worker bee, right? So we're going to go through this list. I've got SSR characters, SR characters, and rare characters. The thing with the rare characters, their stats are much lower. You're going to need better gear, which is kind of counterintuitive when you're progressing through the game. So I'd proceed with caution with them. And then the other thing that I want to mention is the game gives you so many summons at the beginning that you're going to find an SR character that fills the role of the rare character, almost guaranteed. But if not, that's why I'm mentioning them. They are viable. It's just they're really going to need a lot of help. Okay, so let's get into this list. What we're going to do is we're going to showcase the characters, right? I'm going to talk about where I'm using them personally or where I would use them if I had them because I don't have all of them. And where they're going to be used in the end game as well because some of them do. All right, now, first things first. With all of these LD characters, other than like Shadow Sonia is not very good early game, but in the end game, fantastic. So if you pulled her, I mean, congratulations, because she's going to be awesome for you once you get to the end game. But other than that, all 5 of these other heroes are really good, but unless they're paired with 1 or 2 of these progression heroes that I'm going to mention, they're going to feel underwhelming. So I guess the good is if you didn't pull them, they're not super important for progression. The bad news is they're going to end up being really, really strong in the end game whenever you have better gear, whenever you have, a more diverse pool of characters, they're going to be great. So that's the good and the bad, I guess. Okay, so outside of those, the first character is 100% Freya. Guys, you need to pull on her banner. I've heard plenty of people say that she needed a buff, that she fell off, I stopped using her, and that's okay. Maybe that is the case. But in the early game and mid game for progression, she just fills so many roles that she's got to be the most efficient character, I think, in the game. And to give you an example, I have these 3 pretty desirable LDs, and I use Freya more than any of them. So Freya is my first in-slot character all the time. There's even points where in maybe like a fire dungeon, I still use her. Later on in the game, you won't be able to use her in certain fire dungeons because the downside to her is just way too much. But yeah, she's fantastic. I'm not going to go into her kit. There's plenty of things out there talking about her kit. But what I will tell you is how to build her, what has worked for me, and where I use her. So the way I have her built is I have her in speed gear. And right now she's just in epic speed gear, which isn't fantastic. And her overall stats, in my opinion, aren't that great even. So she does not have effect accuracy. This is something that's really important. But as of now, because I have good debuffers, I don't need the damage output from her. So I just have her fast with a little bit of bulk and some defense. But the main thing is she wants to go at the first. She wants to go first in your turn order to do a couple things. She boosts your turn meter whenever she gives a buff, right? Whenever your allies receive buffs, she boosts your turn meter. So she's increasing everyone's turn meter. And then she's giving the attack up buff as well. So making all of your damage dealers stronger. So I have her at the front of the turn order. She's in speed gear. She's got like HP, defense, and then I'm looking for speed substats to try and get her cooking pretty fast. The shell that I'm using on her is an epic shell because I'm far enough in the game where I have access to this. Whenever you have access to this, the nice thing about the epic shells is they can give you 10 more speed than what the epic or unique shells give you. And then you also get 3 separate passives. This is huge. So not only do you get a better effect in your shell, this one applies a little bit of damage and then gives Freya a 2-turn speed up boost. Speed up is quite rare in this game. So this is really, really strong. And then on top of that, once it's fully awakened, so level 30 and awakened, you'll get a 16% turn meter boost. This goes on a 3-turn cooldown, but with how fast she is, along with the 2-turn speed up, she's going to be cycling through that a lot. So, she's got some defense, and I did get a nice speed roll on her second passive, as well as effect accuracy, so that'll eventually build up where she might be able to land her debuff. So she is the first one, and where I use her is almost everywhere. Like, at this point, I've used her in all of these individual dungeons for shells. I don't know if I'll use her in Whitney. I probably will, but she's been used there, and she's been used in both of these threshold dungeons all the way up to Nightmare 3, and she is one of the main reasons why I'm clearing. So used everywhere. She's going to be used later on in the game as well for any of the shell dungeons that are not fire. She's going to be important for all of the things that I already mentioned. So she's not going to fall off. She might not be one of the fastest heroes to run, but she's not going to fall off. She can certainly be extremely effective in Doki Doki all the way up to Inferno. Terramaton, by Inferno in like Hell 4, you might have to switch her out. I don't know if she's going to be taking too much damage, but she's a great slot in anywhere. Now, if you don't have Black Flag, right, which is that epic shell that I showed you, she was being run on Unbridled Science for a long time, which is just increasing her turn meter on a 4-turn cooldown. So you can use this if you don't have access to these types of shells. Okay, so she's the first one. The second hero, this hero I think is the most. She might be tied with Freya for progression. Kloss got a rebalance from the final beta. She has this really interesting, unique debuff called Hacking Progress and Hack In. Again, I'm not going to go over her kit. Just because you should know what these characters do. If you don't, go read them yourself. It's going to take too much time. I'm not a reader. But on that unique debuff, she used to have a speed down, which was nice because you could pair it with a speed down debuff to really decrease speed. But they took that off, and it looked like it was going to be bad. However, on her skill 3, they added a speed down on that. So her skill 3 is absolutely insane. Now she has a speed down, defense down, AoE on her skill 3, along with putting 2 stacks of that hacking progress, which allows you to increase your damage by 10% and decrease your damage by 20%. That is an amazing skill 3. She is the best damage amplifying champion in the game, in my opinion. And then she also has crazy damage mitigation in one skill. And then this eventually ramps up into this hacking thing where she, the damage is increased up to 20 and reduced to 35. So it's just like amazing. She's also the fastest character in the game. So from a PvP standpoint, yeah, awesome. But she's great in Doki Doki. She's similar to Freya for me. Even if there is a fire dungeon, because her damage amplification and reduction is so strong that she can be used anywhere. And you want her second in the turn order behind Freya. You want Freya first, damage amp, turn meter push, and then Kloss. You can have Kloss before Freya, but you're missing out on a little bit of chip damage that Freya is giving to Kloss. So that's one thing to mention. I also have her in speed and then just some random pieces, but you want effect accuracy on her. And again, this is like way too low. I need effect accuracy to land those debuffs. The shell that I'm using her on is White Gale. I've talked about this, and this is just a unique shell. So she has only 20 speed from that, but she did get a little nice roll from the passive. And the reason why I'm using this is because when this thing procs, it will extend all of the debuffs that she landed for an additional turn. So the speed down and defense down goes up for 3 turns instead of 2. This is an amazing shell for her. So she's the second character in regards to progression for SSRs. The third is a character that I just pulled and I haven't built yet, which is Hellkid. Everyone knows about Hellkid. He's talked about a lot in regards to the targeted summon as one of the safest heroes to pick. He truly is. His shield is such a game changer. Not only is it damage mitigation, but it also is immunity, flat immunity. And it also plays into his other stuff, which gives him like a 100% chance of landing attack down, AoE, as well as a stun. So like everything working in his kit is awesome, and his shield scales off of attack. So he's really easy to build, and he can do good damage. So he's like a sub DPS. He is similar to Freya in regards to he fills so many roles that you don't have to like find specific characters to fill that role. He fills like 3 of them. So yeah, he's another one where it's just kind of easy mode. The fourth one I think everyone knows about. It is Tiamat, who I do not have yet. I'm most likely going to pull her on my selective summon if I don't pull her in the meantime. You have Freya in green, you have Hellkid in fire, and then you have Tiamat in blue, which are all just extremely amazing characters built into one character. They just do so many things that it allows you to be more selective with like the cool niche picks for SRs or other SSR characters. So Tiamat is the Freya or the Hellkid of blue, right? Shields, damage, heal over time, all those amazing things, hard carry. Those are the 3 heroes, literally just, 4 heroes that are amazing for progression. They don't really fall off, in my opinion, either. There's debate around Freya, but Kloss is not going to fall off, and I don't think Freya is either. And on a quick side note, Leon is a very good damage dealer. She's great AoE damage. She's perfectly fine for progression. You don't need another fire damage dealer unless you have Hellkid. Like, Hellkid's great, and if you pair him with Leon, you're not going to need anything else from a fire for fire damage. Chloros is fun, and he might overall be better than Leon, but Leon is perfectly fine for progression, and the game guides you to build her up. You need to do it, or you're going to miss out on good rewards, so you want to level her up. All right, so those are the SSRs. If I didn't name an SSR, it's not because they're bad or whatever. It's what I have seen as really strong heroes that just make things so much easier All right, that's the whole point of this video. Now, SR characters, these are the ones that, might be a little more surprising to people. And then others, again, you've kind of heard ad nauseum. So the first one is Marvel. This guy also got a rebalance from the final beta, and there was some speculation whether or not he would be bad or not, and I was a little low on him at the beginning as well. However, he's still quite good. They did increase his cooldown from 4 turns to 5, and this is... it hurts, but at the same time, he's still just extremely good. The amount of turn meter pushback that he has is great, and then he has the AoE speed down, which again is another great just debuff that's really overpowered in this game. Speed is so key when it comes to PvE. And then the other thing that is important, the resistance down, he's the only character I think that has res down in his kit out of every single character in the game. And the way that this stuff works in the game, effect accuracy versus resistance, you can double the proc percentage of a character's skill whenever it comes to effect accuracy versus resistance. It's a long explanation. All you need to know is if a character's resistance is low, it's good. It's going to increase the chances of things proccing. So Marvel, he is one of those just like flex options where if you don't know who to put in, put him in, and he's going to be good. On top of that, stealing turn meter is very overpowered. Not only does it boost your own turn meter, but reducing the other character's turn meter at the same time, you'd be surprised at how often this guy loops people. It's pretty insane, but he is amazing. He is built just like all of the other debuffers that we talked about. So Klaus, Freya, in a sense, and then any debuffer that we talk about in the future that requires turn meter pushback or debuffs, you always want speed, effect accuracy, and then eventually a little bit of bulk, whether it's HP or defense. It's not rocket science. When it comes to the shell that you want to use on this guy, you can use a shell called Star. I think this shell is pretty underrated in the early stages. It has a swift matrix, so you're going to be getting the speed from this shell. On top of that, it reduces his turn meter cooldown. Not turn meter cooldown, sorry, skill cooldown. So even though it's 5 turns, if you use Star, it goes down to 4 turns, which is awesome. And then it ends up syncing up with Star's cooldown as well, because Star has a 4-turn cooldown. So once it gets on par there, every time Star procs from her cooldown, Marvel's skill cooldown will get reduced by 1. So it's like a constant cycle where it turns into like a 4-turn cooldown. And then it's pushing the turn meter by 10%. So he's going to be cranking out a lot of turns. So that's Marvel. Everyone knows about Marvel. I think he's one of the most talked about SR characters, but he is still very, very good. Next up is Sonia. So a lot of people will, I think, come to realize that healing in this game is difficult to come by. Thankfully, the game does give you a really good healer after 7 days playing the game in Ling Luo, and she's fantastic. But in the meantime, or in dungeons that are like green, Sonia is so good. So she has a revive, which is great, but the most important thing about Sonia is she has healing and cleanse on a passive ability. Skill cooldowns are one of the toughest things to get over in the early game when you're trying to figure out who to give lattices to. So if you can find a character that doesn't require lattices and still gets the job done, it's awesome. The other great thing about Sonia is she doesn't need to be fast. She just needs health. She just needs bulk, because even if she's at the back of the turn order, even before the enemy goes, it's okay, because it allows the enemy to hurt your allies, maybe put up some kind of debuff, and then by the time all of that has gone, Sonia will then go take her turn and then cleanse whatever debuffs and heal those people almost back up to full health, especially if she has, a lot of bulk on her. She's also one of the only people that increases max HP. So there's a couple characters like Tiamat that scale off of their HP. So she's a really nice combo with another character that I talked about for progression. But not needing any kind of skill ups or anything like that really makes this character fantastic. Ironically, Gray is one of those great progression heroes because he serves multiple roles. Gray is not only a booster in crit rate, which is a lot harder for people to get in the early game to ensure that you're critting all the time. He also has defense down, which is awesome. So he can be a debuffer, he can be a buffer, but he can also be a damage dealer. Gray has, I think, the 6th highest attack in the entire game, and this is with SSRs and SRs. So you can build him in 2 ways, actually. The 2 ways to build him are the same as any other debuffer that we talked about, right? You can build him like Kloss, where he's going to be in really high speed and effect accuracy. Or you can build him like Leon, which is in, onslaught gear or harvest gear, which you get from Doki Doki. So onslaught is from Tiiamat, and then harvest is in Doki Doki. You're either building them with crit rate and crit damage and high attack to make sure that he is your damage dealer, or you're building him as a debuffer support character. The fact that he can fill both of those roles is awesome. He's one of the better heroes, in all honesty, to use in Doki Doki as a damage dealer. Now, there's some cracked out SSR characters for damage that make Doki Doki a breeze, but those characters aren't really used in a whole lot of other areas. They can be used, but they're specialists, which is not what we're talking about here. But the fact that Gray is so versatile is what makes him very strong in early game progression. And where he ends up in the turn order is depending on his build, right? If he is a damage dealer, you want him in the back, so he gets, Freya's buffs and things like that. And if he's a debuffer, you want him towards the top of the turn order so he can give your damage dealers the crit rate up and the defense down landing on his skill 3 to ensure that your damage dealer is just amplifying the damage. But he can be used in Tiiamat. He's going to fall off there a little bit because he's going to have a hard time living. But in Doki Doki, he's really great. And he can be used in any of the Grim Pursuit dungeons, like a Pate early on for your main damage dealer if you just build him in damage. Same thing with Shadowrunner. But yeah, Gray, absolutely fantastic. Really strong character. The fact that they give him to you for free, I think, gets people skeeved out a little bit, thinking that he's not very good. But the fact that he can fill both those roles makes him extremely valuable. Okay, next is Viper. This guy goes way under the radar. Way under the radar. He has 2 extremely good debuffs on his skill 3 with a 4-turn cooldown that can be reduced to 3, which is a lot. You don't even need to do that, though, because he has counterattacks in his skill, which allow him to cycle through this skill 3 even whenever it's not on cooldown. And he's one of the few heroes in the game that has a AoE strip. This guy scales really good into the end game. I have not built him yet, but he's going to be very important. He's going to be the next SR that I build for 2 reasons. First reason is he's going to be very good in the final stage of your main quest. The end boss there is Hellkid, and Hellkid puts up those shields with immunity, and Viper can strip it. So once you do that, the fight's extremely easy. The other area why I want to build him is because there is an amazing shell dungeon right after Whitney called Nico Nana. Now, Nico Nana, you need your speed to be higher than Nico Nana's. The more speed difference between your character and this boss, the more damage you do. So not only does he apply speed down, he applies attack down too on the same skill, and he dispels any buffs that that bosses put up on them. And a lot of bosses, like even Fabian here, Fabian stacks a lot of buffs. So it serves 3 roles in one character. That's all he does, is he dispels and he puts attack down and defense down. There's nothing else to his kit. When it comes to specific dungeons or PvP, that's where he kind of can fill in a other unique role, because he reduces overall crit damage by a certain amount. I believe Doki Doki dungeon, on the higher stages, those minions can end up critting. So that's a pretty relevant feature in his skill, but you don't need to level this up at all. It's just whenever you take a crit, you take 24% less damage. It's an amazing passive. This guy flies under the radar. He is, again, kind of built like any of the other debuffers. If you're landing debuffs, it's high speed, a little bit of bulk, effect accuracy. Very straightforward. And then also for his shell, you can run the same shell if you want as Kloss when it comes to the unique shell. She was running White Gale, or another option once you get epic shells is you can use the same shell that Freya is using too. This is perfectly fine. Him looping back around to his skill 3 to dispel any of the buffs that people have on them, along with the attack down and speed down, it's just going to make things a cakewalk. People are sleeping on this character. I guarantee if you build him, your progression is going to go so much smoother. All right. 2 or 3 other characters here. Kraken is very straightforward. Everyone knows about Kraken. He's just like Marvel. He's still very, very strong, still amazing. Doki Doki. He's going to be fine in Aurora. He's better in like these unique kind of dungeons where there's waves, because the crowd control is so important. If it's not a wave-related content and it's more of a boss or something like that where they can't be controlled, Marvel's going to be better. So if you have both of them and you're wondering who to play, it's going to be Marvel against bosses. It's going to be Kraken against waves. But the nice thing is they're all built the same way. So I kind of mentioned it in a prior video that I've done, but what's amazing about this game is shells and modules or gear can be transferred for free. So if you have a character that is a debuffer, they can all wear the same thing, which is awesome. And you usually don't need more than one debuffer in a team. So it's not like, oh, I need twice the amount of gear because I need to run both of them. That's rarely the case. But Kraken is another one of those characters. I'm not going to go on too long about him. Everyone knows about him, but I did want to mention him here. Another one that, again, also flies on the radar is RC77. He has an amazing skill 3 similar to Viper, and that's attack down like Viper, but this time it's defense down. So if you don't have a good debuffer, like if you don't have a Kloss, this is where RC77 comes in, because he's a lot better sustainability, like sustain damage with the attack down and the defense down to amp up than, say, another character that we're going to talk about in a second, which is just all damage amp. It doesn't help with survivability. He also has stun too. So he's got 3 things going for him on one skill. Like I said, it's like Viper, where Viper's doing 3 things in one skill. The issue with RC77 is his skill cooldown is higher, but early on, it's still okay to use this guy because all 3 of those abilities are extremely strong, whether it's shell dungeons or even in the module dungeon, that's fire, which is Aurora. It's still fine. So that's good. And then he also has turn meter push and extending debuffs on a skill. This is kind of unique. So great character here. Do not sleep on him. It's characters that do so many things in one skill is the theme here, if people aren't catching up on that, where all you need to do is land it maybe one time. Again, though, to mention how to build them, speed gear, effect accuracy. Same type of shells as well. You either want black flag to loop back around, although I think this is a little less important on RC77 because his skill cooldown is very high. I think you want to utilize star similar to what we were saying with Marvell, with his skill cooldown being too high as well. So that's where star is going to be utilized to reduce the cooldown while still pushing turn meter. And then RC77, like I said, he's going to be used mainly in these dungeons that you still need a little bit of damage amp, but you're trying to survive for a longer fight. So that's, your fire dungeons later on, instead of like a Nico Nana where it's a mechanic-based thing where Viper is going to be better, where she buffs herself in the speed thing, like that's really apparent. But in all other aspects, RC77 might be better, especially with the turn meter push. So they kind of interchange there a little bit. Okay, I think we're coming to the end. I think there's 2 more characters that I want to talk about. Sorry that this video is a little bit longer. If you like the long form, great. 1 hero. 2 heroes. Okay, the first one is Dina. Everyone knows about Dina. Huge damage amplification. She's the only character in the game that I know of that has erosion, which increases, your turn meter, which is nuts, and then it also does like true damage. But along the way, she has an AoE defense down and the vulnerable, which is just more damage amp. And then she also has steel turn meter. She's amazing in Tiiamat. I think everyone knows this. I use Kloss in Tiiamat because I do think she's better. She brings the damage reduction, which is just so key, especially on the higher stages. But if you have enough damage out of your team, Dina might be a little bit better because she's adding the vulnerable, which is a higher percentage of damage than Kloss's hacking progress. Once it gets up to hack in, I think this is still more. So Dina is a better overall damage amp character, but from a utility standpoint, Kloss is way better. But for an SR, Dina's great. So I think a lot of people know about Dina. Now, you can build Dina similar to Gray, where she can be a damage dealer for you, or she can be a debuffer. So if she's just your debuffer, you're bringing her in there for damage amp, speed, and effect accuracy, right? But if you're doing that, also try and bring in some crit rate and a little bit of attack as some substats. That's a great time to utilize some gear pieces like that, where it's just like, this is kind of an awkward piece. Dina can be a debuffer plus a DPS, and the effect accuracy is going to matter for her steel turn meter. So yeah, Dina is, again, another one of those clear characters. You use her in Tiiamat, you use her in fire dungeons where Kloss is maybe weak, to get the damage amp to try and kill the boss quick. Now, the last character, a lot of people I've seen say this character is bad. I cannot understand this. I think this character is absolutely bonkers. She also got a rebalance from the final beta as well, where her healing scaling has increased. But the thing that makes her great is her unique buff. So she's going to be similar to Sonia, which we talked about. She does not need to be fast, right? You want her at the back where everyone has done all of their damage already, and then she heals everyone back up and puts this insane unique buff on, which is just raw. It's raw 35% damage mitigation. I don't understand how people think that's bad. And she's kind of a decent character to use lattices into. I wouldn't recommend that. I'm just saying it's not bad because on her base form, you only get 1 stack of this. So the first time you get hit, this thing comes off, where if you level her up, it puts 2 stacks on. So you have two full rounds of mitigating damage by 35%. This is so key when it comes to Tiiamat on the higher dungeon levels. He hits so hard. He hits so hard. And the more you scale out through the game, you're going to find that survivability is a really hard thing to do. So if you have a great healer like this that puts on a unique, crazy buff to just mitigate damage by a raw 35%, I don't know how people can call this character bad. In regards to like a shell or something, this is the rare case where you can use a healing shell, because you really want to pump out like a huge heal after your team took a crazy amount of damage. I think Teacher Owl is really bad. I really don't think you should ever build that. This character is also not great, but the thing is, early on for unique shells, all three of these matrices are great. It's the 2 health matrices, one that increases your healing, which I actually don't think you need. I think Wellspring's probably a little bit better for healers. But if you want to run them a little bit faster to go before some enemies, you have the ability to put like maybe a 4 piece speed rush on your characters. And then eventually you'll get up to, you know, some of the epic pieces here epic shells that allow you to heal a little bit better. I think it's this 0. Yeah. So this one, again, all the same kind of matrices, except you get Bulwark, which is another nice matrix. But that's how I would build Chiaki. So that's the SRs, guys. Just a quick run through on the rares, because there's only 3 of them. The first one is number 41. She got rebalanced. Her turn meter boost is a little bit less, but turn meter boost plus attack up, pretty nice, along with a really good single heal. This is good. So she's a good character. Like I said, the stats are a little bit lower than most, but her HP, she's one of the rare cases where her stats are okay. Her speed's slow, but the HP is pretty solid. So that is something to mention. The other one is Kachi. Kachi is one of the starter characters you get. This is a guaranteed 35% pushback. That's very, very good. This is very easy to level up, and a AoE stun at a 35% chance clip is pretty solid on a rare. You're going to have a hard time keeping this hero alive, but where this character fits in is the same places that Marvell is going to fit in. It's not going to fit in where Kraken fits in, because Kraken is going to be the better character in that regard, unless you're going up against green waves. That's where Kachi's going to fall in. You build her the same way. You can build her with Star to reduce the cooldown of her skills if you want, because this is on a 5-turn cooldown, which is pretty high. Or you can, just build her in Star. And then the last one is a Shu. This character actually has an AoE silence. So this is pretty nice for Doki Doki. In order to beat Doki Doki, you need to put some kind of control effect up, which silence is, and it will remove the damage reduction on the Doki Doki waves. That's the only role he will fill. So when he is used in that role, it's just to do like speed runs. If people have real Mocha, they're most likely using this character because he's on a 3-turn cooldown. You can reduce it to 2 with Star. So he'll put up the silence, remove the damage reduction. Doki Doki goes, bursts everyone down. His next turn, he gets to go again. Wipe. So yeah, I figured I mentioned those 3. But that's all I got, guys. I hope it helped. I really think you need to target some of those heroes because they don't require the lattices, and they get the job done just by utilizing that skill maybe 1 or 2 times in a match. I hope it helped. I really do. And that's all I got for you. But yeah, I'll catch you on the next one. See ya.